Hi, welcome to the third episode of Designers Den ISDI's podcast where we talk all things fun, design, art, and films. And today I have with me.
Hello, I'm Svanik and I'm a first year student. So, we are going to talk about film today,
Okay.
and that's interesting because we have decided to come with the topic of the power of image.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure all of us watch movies, but there are some scenes, there are some shots which just remain in our brain forever.
Right.
Like, you wake me up at any time in the night, and I'll be able to recall that scene. And I think we should have a look at those, just have a discussion about them, and try to uncover what the filmmakers might be doing
Sure.
in the process.
Sounds like fun.
Cool.
So let's get started.
Let's get started. So let's look at the first scene. It's an interesting one because it's from a movie called American Beauty.
Right.
Talks about midlife crisis,
Yes.
but I'm sure you'll be able to give a better.
I understand midlife
context.
crisis quite well, yes.
Oh no, shit! I didn't mean to.
But
Because
that's
you
okay,
watched
that's
the
perfect,
movie.
but that's perfect.
Because you watched the movie so many times.
I've just watched it a couple of times, but yeah, this scene has stayed with me quite a bit. So when my students just sort of mentioned single shot exercise, we were doing a single shot exercise, and someone just mentioned, "What's the one that you would recommend us?" And I was like, "We should watch this scene because even though it sounds meaningless, it's kind of loaded with meaning." So it's a
Right.
simple scene where to the soundtrack of American Beauty, the piano soundtrack, what plays is a plastic bag, which is just dancing to the forces of the wind. And it may seem very abrupt, it may seem very abstract, but I think at that point in the film, when you see it, you're able to connect with each and every character who's kind of lost, who's kind of
Right.
wandering, um, who's just trying to find their way. But that's how life is. It just goes on, and you
Right.
keep moving. So let's just look at the scene and see how it influences or impacts us. There's a cut.
Right.
And this is a pretty long scene. It's about 3 minutes long.
Just yeah. I think during the rest of the movie is at a regular pace,
Yeah.
like events happening and
Yeah.
going and a lot of things happening.
Yes.
But this is just like, okay, wait, pause.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait.
Yeah,
Pause.
exactly.
Take a stock of
Exactly.
what's going on. Yes.
Because all the characters at this point are at a point where they're trying to figure out how to move on.
Yes.
Right, from their situation,
all
from their
lost, yeah,
crisis.
yeah.
Because each and every character is in an apparent struggle.
Yes, and they seem stuck.
Exactly.
They seem stuck. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the funny thing is when you mentioned midlife crisis, but the moment I look at this scene, I do not think about the film. I just think about myself. It provokes me to
Oh.
think about me. I think it still connects, and it's like I start reflecting. I don't know. There's so much of emotion and so much of relatedness in this scene. And people say animation is all about putting life into sort of non-living beings. I don't know. I can empathize with this packet. It's funny. I mean, I
Right.
might sound like a psycho, but I can empathize with this packet and how it's kind of sort of it's got no aim of its own. It's got no strength of its own. It's the wind that's kind of maneuvering it, and yet it's so peaceful.
I think that's the power of the scene.
Right.
Two different people.
Yeah.
Someone watching the scene might relate it to the plot.
Yeah.
Another might just relate it to their own life.
It could also be because I'm seeing it after a very long time.
Probably.
I'm disconnected from the movie, but there's something in it which kind of still makes sense, and it may not make complete sense in relation to the movie, but it makes sense in the relation of life. I mean, once you've experienced life as it is, when you kind of surrendered yourself to life, this is how you are. You're alive, you're living, but there are things that take you around, the things that take you here and there.
Right.
You think that you have a lot of control, but maybe you don't. Not necessarily that's how things have been with me, but I'm just saying that this is how life is in general. That you kind of have to surrender to it in order to live with peace and contentment. So yeah, I mean, it kind of helps you introspect. It helps you retrospect about the movie. There's so much of power that it kind of plays on your mind all the time, and plus the music.
I know, yeah,
Isn't
I
it
love
amazing?
that piano.
Yeah, great. So should we move on to the next?
Let's move on to the next scene.
Cool.
So up next we have a scene from a movie called Watchmen. Now it's inspired from one of the greatest graphic novels of all time.
Yes.
And I'm sure it was a pretty big task handling images, especially because the panel which was created by Alan Moore, who is the illustrator for Watchmen, it was created in such a lively way, creating a new world altogether. Creating an alternative world. So that Zack Snyder, the director of Watchmen, was tasked with this, and he had to really work on this properly. And I feel he did a very good job. And I would like to show, this is one scene that really stands out from the entire movie. And I guess we'll discuss that after we have a look.
Yes, sure. Oh, the music.
Unforgettable.
Just a matter of time, I suppose.
It's a joke. It's all a joke.
And forevermore, that's how you stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable takes time. unforgettable too.
I love the irony. I love the irony. The music is so soothing that you
Right.
almost, I mean, even though you are sensitive to the violence, but you're not as sensitive as when the music is playing. It kind of soothes your nerves.
Exactly.
And
I
it's
think
so full
it's-
of irony.
Yeah, it's romanticizing the action scene.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shocking as well
Right.
in between, and but
Right.
it's also like, but then the moment you're like, oh my god, the music soothes you down, and you're like, yeah, it's let it go.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yes.
And I feel Zack Snyder is a master of the slow pace,
Right.
slow-mos.
Right.
In this particular scene, I feel it's really well used because
Did he also do Baby Driver? Who did Baby Driver? No, that's not
Baby Driver, he's not behind that.
Cool. Because I think Baby Driver also sometimes sort of connects the music with the chase, with the action scene a lot.
Oh, right.
The chase is all kind of choreographed to a specific kind of music. But then the other thing that I remember suddenly from this is sort of, sorry, my example is from Hindi films. Did I show it to you? Shaitan by Vijay Nambiar. Did we discuss it before?
I
There's a
don't-
scene
yeah.
where there's this entire scene where, of course, there's chase. 6 people are running away from the police, and in between they encounter 2 gangsters,
Oh,
and these 2 gangsters kind of firewall them, but they get killed. But the scene's so beautiful and sung to this. It's kind of choreographed to this song called Khoya Khoya Chand. And it's amazing. Should we just see it? It's
Yeah, let's
beautiful.
go
I mean,
for it.
the whole romanticization of violence. But what I suddenly sort of also understand from the kind of scenes that I'm showing you and the kind of scenes that you bringing is that mine are so lo-fi, right? They're not so hi-fi. They're not so high-tech. They're so low-tech.
Right.
And yours is like
They're
it takes so much,
simplistic.
yeah, and they're very simplistic. They probably and here there's so much that's gone into creating this
So
image.
much
The image-
technical
yeah,
work.
yeah, that's gone into
Right.
making the image. The image is definitely world class. It's
Yeah.
amazing, and it definitely has an impact. But I think there's much more.
there's a
that's being-
harmony of several elements, together.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just one shot. It's several shots. It's the color, the pace, the slow motion.
Right.
Sort of the immediacy of action, the contrast of music, the context in which it's been set, and also the camera angle. My God, it's just so out there. It's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Lovely. So
I
let's just
guess-
look at the lo-fi, the low-tech version.
Let's go
of,
for it, yeah.
of this.
खोया खोया चांद खुला आसमान आँखों में सारी रात जाएगी तुमको भी कैसे नींद आएगी ओ खोया खोया चांद खुला आसमान
So this is a very long sequence, about 4 minutes. We're not going to watch all of it because of the violent nature of the content.
Right.
We don't.
But then,
want
yeah,
this
I
podcast
can
to
see the resemblance
You see the
in both the
resemblance, right?
scenes. Yeah.
And so sort of this sensual track with completely contrasting
Yeah.
happenings on the screen. Yeah.
Right.
So filmmakers influence. I don't know if this is influence, but I do know that Vijay Nambiar has taken in a lot of trippy elements from all the movies that he's been exposed
But
to.
I really like the storytelling trope.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Irony is my favorite as well. Yeah. Which is what I like about American Beauty as well, is the sort of your lives. I mean, you kind of going through a lot, but all of that is expressed through the simplicity of just this
Yeah.
plastic bag dancing to the wind. It's
Right.
like, wow,
Maybe you
how
can
simple.
talk a little bit more about contrast, because it's one of the features that I find interesting.
Yeah,
Even
we'll,
in like color.
we'll come to that.
We'll come to that.
Yeah. I mean, over here, irony is one kind of contrast, right? But we'll come to that as well, yes.
So let's get to our next scene.
Mm-hmm.
So this scene is from, please.
Yes, so this
If you
scene
could
is
give
from,
the
this scene's
context
from
yourself.
this movie called Call Me By Your Name, and it's the last scene, and people who watch the movie would probably remember it just by me saying it's the last scene of the film, where a character who just learns that his lover is going to get married, and realizes that probably they're not going to meet ever again, romantically. It's Christmas, it's Hanukkah evening, or maybe it's the day they're having the Hanukkah lunch. The tables are being set, and he just comes, and his reactions are very silent one. It's again single shot. He just comes, sit by the fireplace, and slowly, as the sort of credits roll, tears start to roll down his cheek. And I think in that moment, and this is again an uncut sort of scene, a shot of about 4 minutes. You get time to feel this person's pain.
Right.
You kind of are with him, sort of navigating his emotions, what he may be feeling. And I think everyone who's watched this film has got so deeply touched by this moment, because it kind of takes you inside his heart and like, what's fun is that he almost breaks the fourth wall in the last scene when he looks at the audience. He's not looking at you, but still, right?
Amazing. Yeah, that's another thing altogether.
Right? Isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, and there are a couple of moments when you feel that he's looking straight at you and he's asking for help, or maybe
Right.
just sort of some sort of an empathy. But I also like that here is crying and there's the snow falling in the background.
And they don't show the fire.
But the
they
reflection
show the
of the
reflection.
fire, just the
Exactly.
of the fire on the face.
Yeah.
And all these, so just as the sort of all the wavering sort of reflections of fire on his
Right.
face, those are the emotions that are going in his heart.
Right.
Maybe we're reading too much, but I find this very, very intriguing a scene.
Yeah.
And how difficult-
And yeah, please.
How difficult it would have been for the actor to kind of to put himself in that situation and just
I know.
weep for like 4 minutes straight. It's intense, and not
Right.
let anyone feel what's bothering him, like in real. But in real, it's the loss of love that's bothering him, and you
Right.
get that. And of course,
And,
music
yeah.
adds to it.
I, as a part of the audience, feel emotionally heavy with the character.
Yeah, you do.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
you do. So it kind of, for the first time, just like what happened in American Beauty, the first time you understand their situation by looking at something else.
Yeah.
Here you're kind of in a celebratory atmosphere, but just by looking at his face, and you kind of understand everything that's going through.
Right.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. This is that's what I like, that when film can communicate so much, so simply.
So
I feel
simply.
it's powerful. best.
Without dialogue altogether.
Yeah. The camera is still, and it's just sheer acting and the music. But I think, I don't know how it was written though. I mean, this is obviously based on a book. I don't know how the author of the book had written it, but I think how the directors captured it is really,
Right.
really immersive.
I
Really
think at
immersive.
this point I'd like to state like one quote which rung true on all grounds for me
Yeah.
was Scorsese saying that the image is a visual language.
Absolutely.
So when you call it a language,
Yeah.
it's like there are visual cues, there are ways of getting, and I feel filmmakers themselves are people who have mastered this language.
Yes, or they will with every work that they do.
Right.
Yeah. Gradually, they all get to
They're all trying to figure it out.
for themselves.
To
And I
this
think,
day.
which is what I like about film is that sometimes the film as a medium is so transparent that you can actually see director through it and what they have been
Yeah.
what they've been wanting to do, what they've been attempting to do there.
Right.
And it's such a transparent medium that you can actually see the soul of the director, or maybe that's just the consciousness of the director through the work that they have produced.
Yeah.
And which is how I watch the film. I'm distant as a viewer. I try to distance. It's not easy, but I mean, now it's started to happen more naturally. I distance myself as a viewer. It's like, okay, all of this has been put together to create this emotion in me, but what exactly was this person thinking while he was putting it all together?
Right.
And in this case, I'm speechless. I mean, all that he was putting through is just stark, naked emotion. And I'm just wondering what Timothy would have put himself through to get to showcase that, because obviously he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't feel, maybe he was not feeling as miserable on that day
Right.
that he would weep for 4 entire minutes.
Right.
But I'm sure, I mean, he's like I don't know how old he is, but at least he looks like a teenager in this film. Now, you're a teenager yourself, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Have
Okay,
you ever
where are
been in this
we?
situation? Have you ever found yourself in this situation?
I know, I don't, but so I have not myself experienced this,
yeah.
but then I can relate with the characters.
Yeah, you can. That happened with me also. There are times when I think I've cried. I've cried, not looking at this scene, but in life, when you've completely broken down and you feel like the whole world is toppling around you.
Right.
And you just close yourself into a room. I don't know, you're reading a book and the tears is falling, or you're just watching a scene, or you're remembering something.
Yeah.
Has it happened with you though?
It
Sorry.
happens with me, so probably not in this context,
Yeah.
but it happens with me when I sometimes watch random ads, and so
Yeah.
you are not supposed to cry in that
Yeah,
ad,
yeah.
but somehow there's this personal context.
Yeah.
There's this something going on in my life,
Yeah.
and it just makes me emotional.
But I'm glad we're talking about ads, because that's another place where I think narrative ad filmmaking.
Oh yeah, it just came.
Yeah, but that's wonderful, because narrative ad filmmaking is another tangent altogether,
Right.
where they employ emotions to persuade people to buy. So I've
Right.
seen these, especially the Pakistani ads. They're so rich in emotional content. They're talking about helping disabled people. They're talking about acknowledging people. They're talking about just general sort of humanity vibe
Right.
that they have, and they sort of they kind of string some chords, and you're like, oh my god. And you're like, okay, this rings a bell. Oh, this
Yeah.
relates to me, and you're like, oh my god, it's so good to be human. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, sometimes images have this uncanny resemblance with our personal lives.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, how do they know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the power of the image. It's
Right.
the power of the creator as well as the
There's
power of the
this-
image.
There's this good quote about advertisements that
Yes.
a good ad makes you laugh, makes you cry, and most importantly, makes you money.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well said. Cool. All right. Should we move on to the next
Yeah.
thing that we have? Cool.
Can we show an ad? Like towards the end.
Do you want to show an ad now? So just look at any of the ads
Right
that you're
now?
looking at.
Okay.
Pakistani ad.
Yeah. I'd like to show a very particular ad.
Yeah, please.
You can never stop me. This is what I'm made of. I will never let go. This is what I'm made of. No one can control me. 'Cause this is what I'm made of. You can never break me. This is what I'm made of. You can try me, you won't stop me. This is what I'm made of. I will never let go. This is what I'm made of. No one can control me. This is what I'm made of. You can hate but never break me. This is what
And what do you find interesting about the film?
So, this is one of my favorite ads.
Really? Wow.
Now, I mean, looking at the ad visually and all, the music is good and all, it makes you feel good. But more than that, Volvo has been selling from the get go, has been selling a car that doesn't break. That, a car for the people, which is, centered around the fact that it's rugged, it's sturdy. And when you listen to the lyrics again, it's like, this is what I'm made of. So the car is selling itself in the ad.
Oh, that way.
Yeah.
So it's made of the spirit,
can hate-
unbroken spirit.
Exactly. You can
human
hate
spirit.
but never break me.
Okay.
So almost this is like a metaphorical fourth wall, as if telling the audience, you can hate but never break me.
Right.
So I feel,
But what about those lost people at the window? What's going on in their lives? I couldn't really connect the story. Was it their story as well?
I think it was about them first, as you said, lost.
Yeah.
And then while the beat picks up, they start, finding themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Somehow this theme's recurring, no, in our all
Right.
selection. We're talking about lost people.
I know, finding their way.
Yeah, from American
I
Beauty.
like to pose a question to you both.
Yes.
Please do.
How abstract do you think ads can go? Is there a limit to how abstract ads can be?
I mean, so I feel that that becomes another discussion, compared to film, because a film also entertains, also holds up a mirror to the audience, asking them, creating questions and stuff. Whereas an ad would be, you get this much space and you gotta sell. I feel that is one of the main purposes of an ad. So that is a restricting point for me
I
to be
think
abstract.
they can. I think they yes. I mean, conceptually, yes, you can't experiment too much. But
Right.
but on the other hand, the ads that have stuck with us are experimental ads, aren't they?
That's a point. Yeah.
So even but here we are talking about narrative form as such, storytelling form. But I think I've seen. I don't think I've seen abstract ads, but I've seen montage ads where you don't really get to understand what they're selling until the whole montage finishes. I can't recollect, but I remember these ads where I was confused as to what are they really selling, and then ultimately realized that they're just talking about an NGO or a service, but the ads about something. It's not a product; it's an emotion that they're selling.
So yeah, that's interesting. I guess ads become abstract to suspend emotion and focus,
Yeah.
like to keep the person, and then
Punch
in the end punch in that.
But then ads also
know,
also like if you look at
purpose.
the meaning of abstract in a sense that not defining exactly where they're going with it. I think a lot of ads have done that, and especially in ads which are made as a series where they don't tell you what's going to happen next.
Right.
I don't before the sort of World Cup cricket, their ads were like something happens and then something happens and something happens and wait for the next, and then the ad releases and then it's just like Pepsi or Coke. But then when you connect it, it all makes sense. So in that sense, I think leaving it unfinished, leaving a story unfinished, leaving you sort of suspended, could be a form of abstraction as well. But but the ad that comes to mind is Nike. The images, the kind of images that they have, the sort of neon colors, the fast-paced cuts. The moving camera, the sort of handheld camera, and it's got a very young, youthful spirit to it. The visuals, they may not really advertise shoes, but the youthful spirit itself tells you what they're
Right,
about.
they kind of advertise a
The
way
energy,
of life.
yeah, they're advertising the energy, the whole.
I would say that their style is very determined.
Determined. Yeah, you could interpret it the way you want, but yeah, you could say that the visual language is kind of designed around the energy associated with Nike shoes, I guess, but
Right.
it's not the shoes itself. Yeah, so they can pretty. I mean, yeah, you've got to just anchor yourself somewhere. Either it's in the human emotion, or in the narrative itself, or in the whole idea of suspense, building suspense, or in the idea of meaning and associations.
I'm glad you mentioned
Yeah.
raising suspense,
Yeah.
because the next scene that we're gonna look at
Okay.
is kind of
Yeah.
like that.
So the long, grueling and incredibly dramatic season comes down to this final race in Japan in the shadow of Mount Fuji. Niki Lauda goes into this deciding race at Fuji just 3 points ahead of James Hunt. Hunt knowing he must beat the Austrian fair and square to take the title.
James, do you think you can cope with the pressure?
Well, I've never really understood what that means. I love my job. I love competing. I love racing. Maybe you should ask Nicky. He's the world champion. He's got everything to lose.
Mr. Lauda, are you feeling pressure?
Do I look like I'm feeling pressure? I'm world champion and on the verge to become world champion again. And now has the opportunity to win, but it's not so easy to become a champion. You have to really believe it to make it possible.
James, is there anything you'd like to add?
If Nicky is being tricky and getting a kicky out of playing mind games, then fine, I'm flattered. But the fact is, momentum is with me. I've never felt better. And I fully expect the next press conference we'll have will be with me as world champion.
Intermittent heavy rain has been forecast here at Fuji today, along with strong winds and occasional fog rolling in from the mountain.
And so we'll
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I like the colors. I love the colors.
Yeah,
of this,
right. The color palette.
Yeah, but what is it that you recall this scene for?
So I recall the scene the first time I watched this movie. When this scene comes in, I am feeling nervous and I am feeling anxious with the drivers, with the characters.
With both of them.
Exactly,
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about this is that you cannot. There's no good and bad really.
Yeah.
You're not really rooting for anyone but both of them. Because
Exactly.
Both of them are, I think.
Both of them are legends in their own
Yeah.
respect, and I feel as a biopic, Rush is brilliant in doing that.
Yes.
We feel for both the characters.
Exactly, and that sort of ambiguity of who are you rooting for is
Yeah.
amazing. And a lot of filmmakers want you to root for a specific character against, and they kind of portray sort of them as opposites. But here, even though they're opposites, you like.
Exactly.
Okay, I wish both of you good.
Yeah.
And that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel when the setting is created,
Yeah.
along with music by Hans Zimmer, who is like a god
phenomenal, yeah.
of music scores, I feel that's all that together makes me feel anxious, and I feel that's the point of a cinematic experience, right?
Right. Yeah.
As a filmmaker, how do you make the person feel?
Yeah.
How close you are to
Yeah.
emotionally connect to the
Absolutely.
images.
It's funny though. This you mentioned Hans Zimmer music and the kind of images and ambiguity of who you're rooting for.
Right.
And suddenly I remember Dunkirk. We hadn't really originally
right.
selected a shot from Dunkirk, but
Right,
the whole
yeah.
movie is like exciting.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, and to pick up any part and you're like, oh my god, I want them to win.
I know, and it's very in the moment.
Yeah.
Like each scene, you'll watch each scene as a standalone scene.
Yes, absolutely.
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't need to watch
Yeah,
the whole
I for
movie.
one wouldn't want to skip to the next scene.
Right.
I would like to live the experience.
Right. And even then, even if you watch it from anywhere, you'd still make sense of it.
Right.
Yeah, but I like it because it's an experience. Yeah. Cool. So what's next for us then?
Next is, so we have a scene from Piano Tuner.
Oh yes, we have to talk about Piano Tuner. Andhadhun almost made it as famous as itself.
Right.
But what a concept! What a concept and what a series of images! My God.
So I guess we'll view this.
Vos lunettes sont tachées.
Calme-toi. Calme-toi. Elle ne se doute de rien. T'es resté super naturel. Tu mérites un putain d'Oscar. C'est qui le type sur le canapé? C'est le mari. Elle a pas dit qu'elle me ramenait les fringues de son mari. Pourquoi elle me ramène pas les fringues de son mari? Calme-toi. Elle te fait une lessive. C'est gentil, non? Tu remets tes vêtements, tu lui accordes son putain de piano et tu t'en vas. J'espère qu'elle pensera à vider mes poches. Mon agenda. Putain, mon agenda. Je l'ai remis dans ma poche. Où est-ce que j'aurai un agenda si je vois rien? Merde.
Oh God, that's a giveaway.
Elle revient. comprends pas. T'es aveugle. T'as aucune raison de te retourner.
My God.
Dis quelque chose.
The tension, right?
Right.
Dis quelque chose. Dis quelque chose, merde. Je suis aveugle. Je ne veux pas savoir ce qui se trame dans mon dos.
Oh my God.
Et puisque je ne le sais pas, je dois me détendre. Je dois continuer à jouer. Depuis que je joue, elle n'a pas bougé.
Is it a drill machine? What's she carrying?
I think it's a drill
Elle
machine.
peut pas me tuer pendant que je joue.
Oh, she can't kill me while I'm
Elle
playing.
peut pas me tuer pendant que je joue.
Oh my God. Oh, it's beautiful. The tension is just so much more than it was in Andhadhun.
I know.
I love Andhadhun though,
Yeah.
but
I
this
love
one's like
Andhadhun.
the bop of Andhadhun.
Right. But I really like how the piano chords are used.
Absolutely.
So at first they are not in tune.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
He's
yeah.
tuning them up.
Right.
Then there's a deafening silence,
Yes.
uncertainty,
Yes.
and then you know he's gonna probably forever remain in danger in your mind.
Yeah, this loops. This for how long
Exactly.
he will play. At the moment he stops, he's drilled into. That's amazing. But do you sense a certain kind of similarity in everything that we've talked about? So from American Beauty, which is also piano, sort of. based out of piano.
I noticed that.
Yeah, and then you have we kind of this shot where it's that, but then you have a soft music in Call Me by Your Name,
Right.
and then as opposed to the song that plays
In Watchmen.
yeah,
Exactly.
and then you have a choir chant here. There's
And the
certain-
music is like playing around with you
Yeah.
because the image might be in harmony with it, might
Oh.
talk about another, like the irony in
Yeah.
Watchmen
Yeah.
is
Yeah, it's amazing. So we've kind of we're not so at some level we both realize that we're not just taken aback by the image, but there's also audio that's playing in our head
Right,
that's
yeah.
having an impact.
Yeah.
And I think this is what a lot of young students, young filmmakers forget is that what you watch in a film is half music and half. Yeah,
that's fascinating.
a lot of us completely let go of the sound element and like
Yeah.
yeah, it to hona hi tha, but
Yeah.
we take it for granted. But actually, it's been crafted to give you that sort of the feeling that you having at that point of time.
Yeah, I mean, even like personally, my personal opinion, no offense,
Yeah.
but I feel when looking at a movie, there are particular movies made by Christopher Nolan, Ron Howard,
Yeah.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
They give a lot of emphasis to music
A lot. Yes.
compared to blockbuster movies,
Yes.
which put in generic music.
Yes.
And then want to back it up with good visuals and stuff. I feel the music also plays
Absolutely.
a different
it's
role
formative to a
altogether.
film.
Yeah.
You can't just add a layer of it. It won't always work. It won't
Exactly.
always
It's
work.
not an additive
Yeah. It's
factor.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. Now, since we've discovered, and I hope our sort of viewers would like the selection that we've made.
Right,
So
I hope.
to end with, I mean, much as I'm enjoying conversing with you, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, we could go on.
We can. After
We can
after
go
we
on,
finish
yeah.
it, we can
We're
keep
going
talking.
on.
So what we would like to do is open this conversation to our audiences. Like,
Right.
please tell us, and I'm sure Shirag would give you a link or a place where you could post. Please tell us a selection, a shot that you've loved, a shot that you think is important to you,
Right.
and how and whose craft you really appreciate. Tell us about your likes and dislikes and things that have had an impact on us. It will definitely educate us, and maybe we could select a couple of them and post it online later on for all of
Right.
us.
Exactly.
So let's make it a little more
interactive
in that
Yeah.
sense. Can we?
Sure.
All right then. So all from us for now. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I hope you enjoy it. It was our first attempt, and maybe the next time we are talking, we'll have much more fun watching more
shots and
more stuff.
scenes.
Great. Thank you so much.